Hey Summoners, how's it going? Enjoying Season 12? Well, my name is Nathan Ng, and as promised, I'm here to bring you guys the new upcoming changes for patch 12.2. With the first patch of the new season more than halfway complete, it's about time that we start digging into what's coming up next patch. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content, and let's go ahead and start with the video. Beginning any stretch of new content, we have to talk about what everyone's looking forward to the most, the skins. The skins team at Riot has been hard at work, and we can expect a plethora of new skins coming up next patch. There's a ton of new skins on the PvE, so let me tell you about them. It's uncertain whether they'll all ship next patch, but I wouldn't be surprised. Crystal Rose, Janna, and Uxim, and Withered Rose Elise are 3 of these skins. These skins are designed for the upcoming festivities. It doesn't end there though, we have a bunch of Lunar New Year skins coming up as well with Firecracker Set, Teemo, Shinzao, Tristana, and Diana. A third set of skins is also going to be expected as well. Porcelain Ezreal, Amumu, Lissandra, Kindred, Lux, and a Prestige version of it are dropping as well. Finally, Brave Phoenix Xayah Prestige Edition is yet another unlockable skin to look out for. Anyway, that's a lot of things, but let's talk about the game balance next. Beginning with the systems, we finally have that nerf that lethal tempo needed. Upon release, it provided a flat attack speed bonus, making it feel far too powerful in the early game. Moving forward, it'll now scale with your level. At earlier parts of the game, you'll gain less bonus attack speed per stack, but gain more towards the latter half of the game. Just like Conqueror, this rune now scales over the game's length instead of providing significant upfront value. Chemtech Dragon Soul continues to be very strong. The second life it provides gives an immense amount of teamfight value. Once again, it's receiving a nerf to its duration, but also to the zombie health that you gain from your second life. This should make the game feel less one-sided when Chemtech Dragon Soul transforms Summoner's Rift. Accordingly, the Chemtech terrain is also receiving a nerf. First, the out-of-combat time required to camouflage is increasing by an entire second. When it comes to sight of a player, the whole second makes all the difference. Also, you won't enter camouflage when entering a zone immediately. Instead, the game will take into account whether or not you've been out of combat long enough. However, it is receiving 1 buff and the max damage amp is going up slightly, but know that that buff definitely comes out weaker overall. Finally, Hextech Dragon Soul is up for a nerf as well. While its primary focus is on the slow, there's no doubt that it adds up a noticeable amount of damage. It's quite literally shocking when you get sucker punched by it, but many players won't be taken nearly by surprise moving forward. The damage cap is being reduced by 25, trimming away some of its excessive strength moving forward. That's it for the nerfs, so let's go on to the buffs next. The first on the buff list is to Lichbane. It's receiving a plethora of changes to make it more usable, especially by mages with low cooldowns. First, it's receiving an addition of ability haste to its bonus stats. The Spellblade effects-based AD scaling is being reduced significantly with a slight increase in AP. However, the cooldown is being reduced by a whole second, dropping it down to 1.5 seconds. Absurdly low, plenty of champions will definitely begin incorporating them into their builds starting next patch. I can hear the sound of the Q key being smashed, face rolled, and possibly breaking already. That being said, I think meta shifts are very likely coming with this adjustment. And if you want help improving so that you can go ahead and make it through the new season madness, check out ProGuides.com. Use the code WINTER and you can get 20% off a subscription. Next, let's finish up with the item buffs. Realize is receiving a significant one as well. First, the biggest change is that the price will be reduced by 400. Remember the last time Riot did that? Not too long ago, and man, it definitely changed up the game. The AP will be reduced and the health increased slightly, but overall the item is much easier to hit than before. Since it's a utility item at the end of the day, the price reduction definitely makes up for any lost power later into that game. That covers up the system changes, so let's move on to the champion balance next. With all the madness of Season 12 hitting one of its apexes, we'll begin with a nerf to top lane Shen. Teleport received some massive nerfs this season. It was obviously way too strong, but the other issue was that players were getting a little bit too good at using it. Suffering from success for sure, but one champion that laughed at the nerfs was Shen. The iconic ninja has a better teleport built into his kit, so it's no surprise that he's seen his win rates climb this patch. With his early game impact that much more powerful, Riot has decided to take away some damage from him. His Q's increased damage is going by 1% at all points of the game. Second, we have adjustments for Tahm Kench. Unfortunately for players who have been abusing Tahm Kench top for easy wins, he's taking a nice, leisurely swim towards the bottom lane. The biggest change is that his gray health's base healing is going down significantly in the early game if he's by himself. When there are 2 or more nearby visible enemies, his healing will actually see a slight increase. However, by himself he's going to struggle until the later stages of the game. Aside from this, his ultimate is receiving massive buffs on ally cast, increasing the shield value, so it also provides movement speed to Tahm Kench instead of taking it away. This helps out support Tahm Kench significantly, but this could spell the end of Tahm Kench top for now. Well, that is until his next scheduled buff until he becomes broken again. Anyway, that covers the top lane, so let's go ahead and go to the jungle next. We'll begin with Jungle Talon. A mid laner gone rogue, he has become a dominant pick in the jungle as well. In fact, he's proven to be too powerful. The fact that he's strong in both roles makes it even harder to play against him. Counterpicking him is difficult as he could either be picked as a jungler or just instead be thrown in there after the enemy team responds with their own mid laner. Taking some power away from him, his W's bonus monster damage is being reduced significantly. With that said, let me ask you our question of the day. Which champion or champions do you want to see become viable in the jungle? I was always a fan of Jungle Nautilus because of his insane CC, but his current performance there is pretty underwhelming. Fun fact though, he actually started off as a jungler when they released him, so maybe we could see him there in the future. Let me know your answers in the comments down below, and let's move on with the video. Moving on to the buffs, the first is for Nocturne. He's been struggling since the preseason, and with some buffs finally coming his way, he should have a fighting chance out on Summer's Rift. He was quite literally a nightmare to play, but now he could be the nightmare himself, which is literally what he is. His HP per level and his Q's AD ratio are going up by 10. Considering Lethal Tempo is also receiving a nerf, this could potentially be a compensation buff to ensure that he doesn't take too big of a hit. However, it's certain that his late game will end up stronger than before with Lethal Tempo, as well as his innate scaling. While his early game strength remains relatively the same, in the mid to late game players should notice that he's not only hitting harder, but is slightly tankier than before. Volibear is also up for a buff moving forward. His HP per level is going up while his E's cooldown is going down. Out of all of his abilities, buffing his E has the most impact as it deals the most damage while providing a big shield that scales up with both his max HP and AP. Next is Rengar, who's up for a great quality of life change. His ultimate will include a new passive that allows him to leap from camouflage. While this will have various results, the biggest one is that Chemtech's Rift won't only have an adverse effect like before. With the removal of brushes, his combat power is significantly lower, and instead, Rengar will be able to use the camouflage the new version of Summer's Rift has to offer. That wraps up the jungle, so let's talk about the mid lane next. In terms of elite play, there are outliers like Qiyana. Somehow Qiyana always manages to pull out insane win rates. Once again, Qiyana is dominant in Diamond 2 and higher, meriting some buffs to shut down elite players. Her grass zone duration is being reduced slightly, while her base health regeneration is also taking a big hit. While these buffs don't take away damage, it does give opponents more opportunities to outplay her during the laning phase. The big change is the reduced duration on her grass zone since she won't be able to hide for it as long as before. Mid laners can finally feel a weight lifted off their shoulders. This might be one of the biggest Zed nerfs that we've seen, and it's coming next patch. His ultimate's base health is being reduced. Rather than dealing 100% of his AD, the base damage is going down to 65%. With a big loss in damage like this, Zed players are going to have to work a lot harder for their solo kills. He'll certainly remain a huge threat with his mobility and safe poke, but in many situations, players will be able to escape with a few more health points to spare. Yasuo and Yone are up for some compensation buffs next patch as well. This patch, Immortal Shield Bow received a nerf. While the intended effect was to take power away from its users who have been abusing it, the Wind Brothers ended up taking nerfs much harder than other champions. They remain popular picks in spite of the nerfs, but the balance team figures that it's necessary to buff both of them. For anyone who's unhappy about this, I'm here to at least let you know that the damage buff isn't that big. Their Q80 ratio is just going up by 5%. Big R is last, and he's receiving a massive buff. He's having trouble keeping up with the other scaling mid laners like Victor and Corki. However, this buff is certainly going to be helping him out because his Q's cooldown is going down by a whole second, and he'll also be able to gain one more stack for killing large monsters or minions. The reduced Q cooldown also increases how quickly he scales up, as he'll be able to farm more quickly and frequently. That wraps up the mid lane, so let's talk about the bot lane next. Tristana has been underperforming this patch. It feels like this is mostly because other marksmen are performing far too well. She has seen her win rates decline significantly, and as a result, she's in a place where she actually needs some assistance. Next patch, her base health and health regeneration are going up. Finally, Samira is receiving a solid buff to her ultimate. The base damage per bullet is going up by 5, which is going to be a huge buff in the early game. Since the ability doesn't have much base damage of its own and relies entirely on Samira's AD, players are going to see a huge spike in their power once this goes live. In the late game, it won't have as big of an impact, but more damage is more damage. With bot lane changes finished, let's conclude with the supports. Lulu continues to be a dominant pick. The meta has shifted towards enchanters and is likely going to stay that way until we see some more drastic balance changes. However, Lulu's popularity and ban rate have pushed Riot to hit her with the nerf. Lulu's W cooldown is going up by a whole second at all ranks. With the various changes to runes, Senna has come out missing some strength as she previously had. Glacial Augment has been reworked into a more defensive keystone, and unfortunately, it's much harder for Senna to use it now. Missing the massive utility it used to provide, Riot has decided that Senna needs some of that power back, and her Q will now include a slow starting next patch. The last change is for Janna. She's receiving a ton of various adjustments. Her movement speed and base AD are going up. Her Q is receiving various buffs to its range, travel time, and mana cost. However, her attack range is taking a hit, and her passive no longer grants bonus magic damage based on her bonus movement speed. In addition, her attack range is going down as well. Her other abilities are receiving adjustments. W's range will change from 550 edge to edge to 650 center to center. Her slowest duration is going down by a second. The damage, passive movement speed, and cooldowns are all going up. So yes, it'll be more effective ability when cast, but won't be as spammable as before. Next, her E's cooldown is being reduced and the time before that shield decays has increased. However, the shield amount is going down, while CCing an enemy with the spell won't reduce the ability's cooldown anymore. Instead, doing so will grant 20% heal and shield power for 5 seconds. Finally, her ultimate will take every quarter second instead of every half second. So what does this mean? Overall, these changes make Janna less effective as a lane bully, but make her stronger as a support focused on peeling during teamfights. In my opinion, these changes will make her slightly weaker, but we'll have to see the exact results next patch. That concludes the upcoming changes for patch 12.2. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, make sure to read the description since you'll find a link to join our Discord. It'll be awesome to see you guys there. And until next time, everybody, you know the drill. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.